Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Dirshu Mishnah Berurah share. I apologize if you were watching the live stream a few minutes ago and then suddenly it went blank and it blanked out, but we were having some technical difficulties here on the video end, and I'm trying again. So I'm going to start again from the beginning. I don't know if anybody was watching it or not, but I'm going to start again from the beginning so that the entire share should be here on YouTube. So today's page in Dirshu Mishnah Berurah is Chelik Hey Tzadik Daled Amid Beis. We're continuing to learn Hilchas Pesach, and we are in the midst of Siman Tuf Pei Tes. We're discussing the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer, and we're in the Shulchan Aruch right at the beginning of Tzadik Daled Amid Beis. Says the Mechaber, V'tzarech lispar mu'umad. You have to count Sefiras HaOmer while standing. The mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer has to be performed standing. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut and vav. V'tzarech lispar mu'umad. We have to count Sefiras HaOmer while standing. V'tzarech la'amod mishasha maschil habracha. And we are required to stand not only when we say Yomi Echad V'Omer, when we do the actual counting, we have to stand up from the time that we start to recite the bracha. When the Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu al Sefiras HaOmer, we have to stand already at the time that we make the bracha. Ub'di'evet, however, if you did count Sefiras HaOmer while you're sitting, you still are Yotze b'di'evet. Excuse me. Now, if you take a look in the Sharet Zion, Ois Kat and Zion, the Chavetz Chaim says, this that we're saying that you have to do Sefiras HaOmer while standing, Kein Muchach Patur. This is proven from the words of the Torah, V'chein beBeis Yosef, and we see this as well in Beis Yosef, La'el Siman Ches, earlier on in Siman Ches, the Chol Berchas HaMitzvahs Tzarech Liyos Lechatchila Ba'amida, that Berchas HaMitzvahs, brachas that we make on the performance of a mitzvah, have to be recited while standing. We know that there are different types of brachas. For instance, you make a Shahakal Niyah B'dvaray over a glass of water, that's a Berchas HaNenin. That's a bracha that we make before we derive pleasure or benefit from something in this world. Kol hanene me'olam hazeh b'li bracha harei he's gezel me'HaKadosh Baruch Hu u'miYisrael. Before you derive hana from something in olam hazeh, you have to make a bracha. So you make a shahakal. That's called berchas hanenin. Then you have berchas hoidah. There are certain brachas that we make that we thank the Rabbeinu Shalom. You make a shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh by Yom Tov. You're thanking the Rabbeinu Shalom that he allowed you to reach this significant time, this significant milestone in your life. So that's a berchas hoidah. That's a bracha of thanks. I always say over from the Torah. The Torah tells us that the bracha in Berurah HaTorah, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amim and Nasad Lanu Es Torasai, is not a Berurah HaMitzvahs. That's a Berurah Hoidah. We're thanking the Rabbeinu Shalom for Ma'amid Har Sinai. We're thanking the Rabbeinu Shalom Asher Bachar Banu that he chose us Mikol Amim and Nasad Lanu Es Torasai. He brought us to Har Sinai and he gave us the Torah HaKadoshah. Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu la'asik b'divrei Seirah. That's a Berchas HaMitzvahs. Asher Bachar Banu is a Berchas Hoidah. So we have different types of brachas. A Berchas HaMitzvahs has to be recited while standing. So you make the bracha on Rosh Hashanah, on Shofar, everybody stands. You make the bracha on Mikra Megillah, everybody stands. So too the bracha on Sefiras HaOmer, Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu al Sefiras HaOmer, it has to be recited standing because it's Berchas HaMitzvahs. Interestingly enough, we know that there are a lot of different minhagim when it comes to Kiddush on Friday night. Some people stand for the beginning of Kiddush and then they sit. Some people, believe it or not, sit for the whole Kiddush. Some people stand for the whole Kiddush. It was always a little bit of a puzzle. The minhag of my mishpacha was to stand for the whole Kiddush, and that's what I do. It was always a little bit of a puzzle exactly why we stand for the whole Kiddush. Klausenberger Rebbe, in his Shilas Teshuvah Sefer, Klausenberger Rebbe, Zechatzan Koshel Avracha, the Friedrich Klausenberger Rebbe, writes in a tshuva that the reason we stand for the entire Kiddush is because he says that on Friday night, even the Borei Pri Hagafen has a din of Berchas HaMitzvahs. There's a mitzvah of Kiddush, and the Borei Pri Hagafen of Kiddush has a din of Berchas HaMitzvahs, and that's why we stand by Kiddush. In any case, so the Sharet Zion, the Chavetz Chaim in the Sharet Zion is explaining why we stand for Sefiras HaOmer, but then he continues here in the Sharet Zion, Ois Kat and Zion, and he says, Ubefrat HaSfira Gufa. We just explained why the bracha you have to stand, because it's Berchas HaMitzvahs. How about the counting itself? Yomi Echad Ba'omer. Do you have to stand then as well? And why? So the Chavetz Chaim says, certainly then you have to stand, because Kasvu Kal HaRishayim Asmachta Lozeh, he says all of the Rishayim write that there's an asmachta, there's a support from a pasuk. An asmachta is when the Chazal said something and they find an asmachta, they find a support for that idea in a pasuk. It's not an actual drasha from the pasuk. If it was an actual drasha from a pasuk, then it would have a din of a daraisa, not a darabanan. But sometimes you have something that the Chachamim said, the Chazal said, and now they find an asmachta. It's like a remez. It's a support from the pasuk. So there's an asmachta in the pasuk by Sefiras HaOmer telling me that it should be done standing. What's that asmachta? Says the Chavetz Chaim, because it says in the pasuk, Mehachel Chermesh Bakama. And kama in that pasuk by Sefiras HaOmer is a reference to standing grain. However, the Rishonim say, Al Tikrei Bakama, you shouldn't read that word Bakama, speaking about standing grain. Ela Bekaima, it should be read Bekaima, which means standing upright. Bekaima Zekufa, it should be, Sefiras HaOmer should be done while standing upright. And if you take a look in the Dirshu, in footnote number 26, he brings down here from the Aruch HaShulchan, Ubetam Hadavar, as far as a possible reason why Sefiras HaOmer should be done while standing. Kasav Aruch HaShulchan, the Aruch HaShulchan writes, B'Shem HaZayar, in the name of the Zayar from Parshas Tetzaveh, Mishum Sefiras HaOmer hi inyan gadol, because Sefiras HaOmer is an inyan gadol. It's a very chashuv mitzvah. Ketfilas Shemona Esrei, and it rises to the level of Shemona Esrei. Now, by the way, this is a very interesting statement to say that Sefiras HaOmer rises to the level of Shemona Esrei. Sefiras HaOmer, we had brought down in the Bir Halacha earlier, it's possible that the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer even nowadays is a daraisa. And Shemona Esrei is not daraisa. Shemona Esrei is from Anshe Knesses Agdola. We have a famous machlokes rishonim whether the mitzvah of tefillah is a daraisa or a drabanan. The Rambam holds that tefillah is a daraisa. The Ramban held that tefillah is a drabanan. But even the Rambam, who held that tefillah is a daraisa, what's the daraisa? What did they do before the Anshe Knesses Agdola came and were mechaber Shemona Esrei? So the Rambam says that before the Anshe Knesses Agdola, everybody, every yid understood what it meant to speak to the Borei Olam. They understood what it meant to speak and be mispal to the Rabbeinu Shalom. So whatever somebody needed, he looked up to Shemayim and he davened to Hashem, and he was mekayim the mitzvah daraisa of tefillah. By the time the Anshe Knesses Agdola came onto the scene, the levavos, the hearts of the Bnei Yisrael were already dulled. And that concept, that ability to directly speak to the Rabbeinu Shalom on their own, they sort of lost that ability. So the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah came, and they were mechaber the tefillas that we have. It's not only Shemona Esrei that they were mechaber. They were mechaber Berurah Amar. Could be Berurah Amar was a bas koil, but a lot of the tefillah that we have comes from Anshe Knesses Hagdolah. So they were mechaber for us the text and the words that we should use to daven to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Indeed, it's brought down that when we say the words of tefillah, we have to have kavana, we have to put our heart into the tefillah, but the words that the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah were mechaber, they are a formula comprised of the aleph beis, which is a davar kadosh. It's imbued with kedusha. We have to remember that Lashon HaKodesh is an intrinsic language. Lashon HaKodesh, in Lashon HaKodesh, a lion is called an ari. That's because an ari is the uptaich of a lion. Ari defines what a lion is. The word lion in English is only a made-up word. And so they made up the word lion, and they said it refers to that animal with the big mane of hair around his face. But the word lion intrinsically doesn't mean anything. Ari means something. When we say the formulas of the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah, those formulas have intrinsic value, and it aids in our tefillah. It gives added weight and added potential and added power to our tefillah, besides the feelings that we inject into it. But it's interesting to say that the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer, which according to some Rishonim even nowadays is a daraisa, is an inyan gadol like Shemona Esrei. You see the tremendous chashivas of Shemona Esrei. And we're saying that just like Shemona Esrei has to be recited standing, so too Sefiras HaOmer has to be recited standing. what is this great, this special greatness of Sefiras HaOmer? I would dare to say that Sefiras HaOmer is the countdown when we're preparing ourselves to come to Kabbalas HaTorah. And that is incredibly, incredibly important and incredibly fundamental, to spend that time between Pesach and Shavuos working on building ourselves up and preparing ourselves for Kabbalas HaTorah. And it has to be approached with a great seriousness and with great forethought. So it's something that you don't just sit in a chair and count Sefiras HaOmer. You have to get up. You have to stand up. You have to be serious. You have to be prepared. You have to have kavanah. You have to realize what you're doing when you do that counting of Sefiras HaOmer. Continues the Mechaber in middle of the top line here on Tzadik Daled Amud Beis. Ulevarech tchila. We have to perform the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer standing, and of course we have to make a bracha before we count. V'sefer hayamim v'hashavuos. And when we count the Omer, we have to count both days and weeks. So we count days. Hayom yom echad ba'omer. Today is the first day of the Omer. Hayom yom sheni ba'omer. But when we get up to Hayom Yom Shvi ba'omer, now we have to count weeks. Shahu Shavua Echad ba'omer. Hayom Shiva Yomim, and not Hayom Shvi. Hayom Shiva Yomim. Today is 7 days. Shahu Shavua Echad, which is 1 day ba'omer. And when we get up to 14, we have to say Shahu Shnei Shavuos ba'omer. We always have to count the weeks as well. Ketzad. I'm saying this outside. The Mechaber spells it out. By Yom Arishon Omer, on the first day we say Hayom Yom Echad, and the Ramah puts there in parentheses Ba'omer. Today is the first day of the Omer. Ad Shemagia l'Shiva Yomim, until we come to a full 7 days. Va'az Yomar, and then when we've completed 1 week of counting, we say Hayom Shiva Yomim. Today is 7 days. Shehem Shavua Echad, which is 1 week Ba'omer in the Omer. Now let's go back into the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says over here a nice cut in Zion. V'sefer hayamim v'hashavuos. We have to count both the days of the Omer as well as the weeks of the Omer. Tiksiv, where does this come from? Because the pasuk says by the counting of the Omer, tisperu chamishim yom. You have to count 50 days. Well, from there we see that you must count days. You have to count 50 days. Uksiv, but then there's another pasuk that says, Shiva Shavuos Tisparlach, that you have to count 7 weeks. So you see, you have one pasuk that tells you you have to count days, and you have another pasuk that tells you have to count weeks. However, the Chavetz Chaim says, V'em siper yomim l'chud. Let's say you only counted days. V'lo yihizkir Shavuos, and you did not count the weeks. Yesh Omrim sheyatza b'di'eved. There are those like the Oila Shabbos, the Magen Avram, the Chak Yaakov brought down in the Sha'ar Tzion, that say that b'di'eved you're yotze just by counting the days. The Yesh Omrim, however, there are others that say, and he brings this down from the Maharash Halevi, the Pri Chadash, Del Yerabba. There are others that say shetzarich lachzar v'lispar yamim v'shavuos kadin, that if you only counted days, you have to count over again, and you have to count the days and the weeks. Valkein, and since we have this machlokes here, chayzer v'seifer b'loi bracha. If you counted days and you neglected to count weeks, so let's say you said hayom arba asar yom ba'omer. Today is 14 days in the Omer, and you didn't say shehem shnei shavuos. So now he says that you should count again and count the weeks as well, but b'loi bracha, without making a bracha. V'im shachach lazar v'lispar. Now let's say you forgot to go ahead and count over again. What do you do then? Then you should continue counting for the rest of the Sefira with a bracha. You shouldn't think that now that you missed a day when you neglected to count weeks, now maybe that destroys your counting as if you missed a night, and now you can't count with a bracha. No, b'di'evid you still could count with a bracha. Now, how about the other way? Let's say on the 14th day you said Hayom Shnei Shavuos ba'omer, and you did not count days. Or let's say on the 7th day you said Hayom Shavua Echad. Now is 1 week in the Omer, and you didn't mention days at all. Then everybody would agree that you're not Yotze. And if you look over here in the Sha'ar Tzion, a nice cut Yud Aleph, the Chavetz Chaim says the L'kulei alma tzarich lahazkir yamim. Everybody agrees that you must count days. It says 50 days you should count. Tisperu chamishim yaim. Really, that's the right text of the pasuk. Pasuk says Tisperu chamishim yaim. You should count 50 days. Now, why is that given greater credence than Shiva Shavuos Tisparlach? Not sure. Okay, but in any case, the Berurah tells us here that everybody agrees that you must count days, and certainly if you only counted weeks and not days, you're not Yotze. Now, in Ois Katan Ches, the Chavetz Chaim is going on the Ramah. The Ramah put in the word here, Ba'omer. Hayom Yom Echad, the Ramah says Ba'omer with a base. Says the Chavetz Chaim here in Ois Katan Ches, Ba'omer. Uberayv Paiskim an Nusach La'omer. Chavetz Chaim tells you that in most Paiskim, the Nusach, the text that they have, is a La'omer with a Lamed, not Ba'omer with a base. Mihu, however, says the Chavetz Chaim, Iker din zeh einay elo lechatchila. The truth is that the whole need for saying either La'omer or Ba'omer is only lechatchila kedei leva'er, to speak out clearly, shehu mainem yom shehikrivu es ha'omer v'hala, to spell out that this counting that we're doing, we're counting down the days that began with the second day of Yom Tov, which is the day that we brought the Karban Omer. So we say, Hayom Yom Echad Ba'omer, Hayom Shnei Yomim Ba'omer. We're counting from the day of the Karban Omer. But V'im lo yomar ela Hayom Kach v'Kach. But if you would only say Hayom Yom Echad or Hayom Shnei Yomim, Hayom Shloisha Yomim, and you wouldn't mention the Omer at all, Nami Yotze, you still would be Yotze even if you did that. So it's not really required to say La'omer or Ba'omer. Now, as far as this machlokes hapaiskim, what should you say? Should you say La'omer or Ba'omer? If you take a look at Dirshu footnote number 30, he brings down over here, V'chein hu hanusach b'siddur ha'arizal. In the Siddur ha'ari, the Ari also in the Siddur brings down the nusach of a La'omer, not Ba'omer. However, Uminig Agra brought down in the Ma'aser Rav, Oisam Tes, Hayolomer Ba'omer. The Minig Agra is brought down to say Ba'omer. The Chein Noag HaChazanish. The Chazanish also said Ba'omer. The Chein Mashma Mistimas Lashon HaMishnah Berurah La'alon. And he says that in later on, we're going to see that the Mishnah Berurah seems to be Saisam also that you say Ba'omer. I know that Rav Moshe Zechet Tzaddik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, his minig also was to say Ba'omer, and that's what I say. He brings down here Uminig Agayin Rav Shlomo Zalman Arbach Zechet Tzaddik V'Kadosh L'Vracha Hayolispar Pamachas La'omer. He would count twice, and once he would say La'omer Upamachas Ba'omer, and then he would count again, and he would say Ba'omer. But he did not paskin that way for others. I always question why then is it important to put this down here if he didn't paskin that way for other people. Now we're coming and we're saying it over in his name. I'm not sure. That almost sounds as if we're paskining in his name that way for other people. If Rav Shlomo Zalman didn't paskin that way for other people, I'm not sure why we're bringing it down. The Stipler brings down, if you're going to say both, then you have to count once using one and once using the other. You have to say Hayom Yom Echad Ba'omer, Hayom Yom Echad La'omer, but not Aval Ein Shum Tayelos Loimer La'omer Umiyad La'akim Ikein Loimer Ba'omer. You shouldn't say Hayom. Can we get that, please? You can't say Hayom Yom Echad La'omer Ba'omer. That doesn't mean anything. So if you're going to do it that way, you should count once saying La'omer, once counting Ba'omer. Okay. We're going to stop over here, I believe. Yeah, that does it for Tzadik Daled Amid Beis. So we'll pick up Mirz Hashem next week on Sunday on Tzadik Hey Amid Aleph. And now we'll do some Pirkei Avos. This week's parak is Parak Sheni. So we'll take a look over here in Pirkei Avos at Parak Sheni Mishnah Aleph. One of the items the Tana says over here in this Mishnah, he says that v'zahir b'mitzvah kala kiv'chamura. You should be zahir. You should be careful with, so to speak, a mitzvah kala, something that you would call a lightweight mitzvah. You should be just as careful with that mitzvah kiv'chamura as with a mitzvah that you would call a mitzvah chamura, a more stringent mitzvah. Because how are you going to weigh how one mitzvah is more chashuv than another mitzvah? So, for example, a lot of people, they tend to look at lulav and esrog. Lulav and esrog is a mitzvah chamura, something that comes only during one time period during the year, and somebody goes out and he spends hundreds of dollars on an esrog. Matzah, one time during the year, and they're so dizar, they go to the bakery and they run around and they make sure to watch the matzah. All the halachas that we're learning in there in Hilchos Pesach, they think it's a mitzvah chamura. Other mitzvahs that they look at, the special mitzvahs, the mitzvah chamura. Then there are other mitzvahs that to them it's a mitzvah kala. It's no big deal. It's something that happens all the time. They don't even pay so much attention to it. And the Tana is warning you, you can't do that. You can't treat one mitzvah as being more important, more valuable than another mitzvah. Like the Rishonim say, what does that mean? You have no way of rating a mitzvah because the Torah Kedosha does not tell you what the schar is for mitzvahs. You see, when it comes to einshin, when it comes to the punishment that you receive if you transgress a mitzvah, lo yisaseh, over there, the Torah sort of gave you a rating system. We know that if you're over on a lav, if you transgress a lav, you get malchus, you get 49 lashes. We know that there are other things that if you do them, you chayiv misa. There are other things if you do them, you're chayiv kares. So we could look at a lo yisaseh, and we have some way of rating. This is an avera chamura, and this is an avera kala. We have some method of doing that when it comes to a mitzvah lo yisaseh. But when it comes to a mitzvah saseh, how could you rate a mitzvah saseh? The Torah Kedosha, by and large, does not tell you what the schar is for being mekayim a mitzvah saseh. So how are you going to rate which one is a mitzvah chamura, which one is a mitzvah kala? But there's another concept that I want to throw out to you now, and that is that a mitzvah kala and a mitzvah chamura, let's remember that every mitzvah is a representation of the Ratzain HaBorei. When you have a mitzvah saseh, that means that the Borei Olam wants you to do something. Now, let me ask you a question. You have a trusted servant in the house of the king. And the king has many things that he asks his people to do. Some of them seem to be chamura, and some of them seem to be kala. So you have two servants sitting in front of the king. And the king turns to one servant, and he wants to give him a mission that seems to be a mitzvah chamura. He tells him, I want you to take this very, very important document. It's a critical document. I want you to take it right now. I'm sending you as my personal courier, and I want you to go take it to the representative of this other government or to the king of this other country, and I'm not entrusting this to anybody else. You're the only person that I entrust this to. This sounds like a mitzvah chamura. So, of course, the servant, the courier, is going to take that document and is going to treat it very, very seriously. Then, even while the king is giving this mission to this servant of his, he turns to another servant and he says, maybe you could get me a cup of coffee. Cup of coffee. That sounds like a mitzvah kala. So now, let me ask you something. The courier who's being sent overseas with a precious document, so are you going to tell me that he should fulfill his mission with alacrity, and he should make sure to do it quickly and do it well? But the person who the king asked him to bring him a cup of coffee, that's a mitzvah kala. So if I forget to bring him the cup of coffee, big deal. Do you think he could turn around and walk away and say, I'm not getting the coffee? If he would just walk around and ignore it and say, I'm not getting the coffee, he comes back later. The king says, where's my coffee? I asked you for a coffee. Yeah, I figured that's not so chashuv. Get you a coffee, that's not chashuv. I have no interest in doing that. If it's a real king, he'll be off with his head. And that's so there's nothing that the king asks you to do that's a mitzvah kala. If the Melech Malchei Hamlachim asked you to do something, not even asked, instructed, the Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu instructed you to do something, no matter what it is, you're going to look at it and say that's a mitzvah kala? I could treat it like a lightweight thing? It's a mitzvah kala? If it's Ratzon HaBorei, there's no such thing as a mitzvah kala. There's one other facet of this Mishnah that I'd like to mention, and that is she'ena toyedei matan schar shel mitzvahs. You don't know the matan schar of a mitzvah. You might even think, and the Rabbeinu Yomi says this, the Rabbeinu Yomi says, it doesn't mean you don't know what the reward is, and therefore treat it with great care. The The Rabbeinu Yomi says it means you have no way of comprehending what the schar of a mitzvah is. The schar of a mitzvah, schar mitzvah b'hayal maleka. You're not getting the schar of the mitzvah in this world. You're getting the schar of the mitzvah in the next world. And in the next world, when you get the schar of the mitzvah, it's going to be olam haba schar. It's not going to be olam hazeh schar. You're not getting ice cream. You're not getting a bonus check. You're not getting a car. You're getting something that's olam haba currency. You're not getting olam hazeh currency. And you have no way of comprehending olam haba currency because you're stuck in olam hagashmi and olam hazeh. So you're going to treat a mitzvah like a mitzvah kala. Even the smallest, so to speak, mitzvah with the smallest amount of schar is beyond your wildest comprehension. So you can't treat any mitzvah as if it's lightweight. One more thing. The schar of a mitzvah, we have elsewhere in Pirkei Avos, schar mitzvah mitzvah. The schar of a mitzvah is that it pulls you along to do another mitzvah. I keep on saying, I've spoken about this a lot lately, mitzvah gereris mitzvah, schar mitzvah mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah, it makes you more of a kadosh. It imbues your neshama with greater kedusha. Suddenly you attract mitzvahs more. So you look at a mitzvah and you say it's a mitzvah kala. There's no such thing as a mitzvah kala. When you do that mitzvah, you're opening up the doors for 1,000 more mitzvahs. Not only you're opening up the doors for 1,000 more mitzvahs, you're opening up the doors, you're purifying your neshama, you're making your neshama more kadosh. It's going to be easier for you now to stay away from averis. It'll be easier for you now to stay away from the nisyanis and be successful, to be omed ben asayin. So you can't rate what a mitzvah is. You have no idea. You do that mitzvah, and you do it with kavanah, and you do it with intent. You have no idea what that does to your neshama, and how it improves you, and how it schleps you along to grow in ruchnius. Thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. The schus of Limud HaTorah should stand Gans Klal Yisrael in good stead. The Rabban Shalom should be Megan, should protect Gans Klal Yisrael. Rabban Shalom should send Yeshuas and Refuas and Parnasa to those in need. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and I'll see you next week. Be well.